Hey there and welcome to another episode of Thursday Trading Thoughts. Thanks for joining us. I'd just like to start by wishing all of the Aussies out there a happy Australia Day. I hope you're all having an awesome day, and everyone else of course. Now this episode is going to have an Australian theme. I wanted to share with you an email I received last week from a fellow Aussie who is currently living in the UK, and his name is Justin. Thanks for the email, Justin. It was quite amusing. It was an email about a lamington. So, what's a lamington, I hear you ask? Well, for those who don't know what a lamington is, it's like a small square piece of sponge cake about the size of your hand or the palm of your hand. And it's covered in a layer of chocolate icing on all sides and then dusted in shredded coconut. Now, Aussies have kind of adopted the lamington as a national treasure. I think we may actually have stolen it from New Zealand, like a lot of other things, but hey, we're a nation of convicts anyway, so what would you expect? But usually, when you buy a lamington from a cake shop, it comes in like a white paper bag, and you just eat it out of the bag or you eat it with your hands. It's a pretty tasty snack, but it's very simple and definitely not something fancy. Anyway, Justin sent me an email from a bakery in the UK that was promoting the pre-ordering of lamingtons for Australia Day. And part of this promotional email was a really professional looking photo of a lamington. No surprise there. The photo was really beautiful. They had fantastic lighting. Everything was positioned just perfectly. The lamington was on a slight tilt at what I assume was a perfect angle for food porn. They'd obviously gone to a lot of effort to get the highest quality photo that they could for this promotion. However, there were a few problems with the setting that didn't quite fit right. The lamington itself was sitting on a really nice looking plate, perhaps like a fine china kind of plate. On the plate they also had some really expensive looking silverware, highly polished, very impressive. And then they had a nice white linen serviette sitting under the silverware, the type of serviette that you would see in a fine dining restaurant. In fact, the whole photo kind of looked like something out of a fine dining restaurant. So here we are, this humble little lamington trying to be presented as some type of gourmet treat, which, it really isn't. Anyone who's eaten a lamington probably would have laughed when they saw that image. I know I did. And, so what are they doing with this lamington? What's with the polished silver cutlery? Are they actually going to eat that thing with a knife and a fork? The photo just looked completely wrong. The lamington was in the wrong setting. It looked out of place. The environment didn't match and it didn't really work. And I think this kind of thing can also happen in trading. Some traders have a strategy and they try to present it in all market conditions, including environments where the strategy isn't really well suited. For example, they may try to trade breakout strategies in a range-bound market. They may trade long-only mean reversion strategies in a trending bear market. Or, perhaps they have trading strategies that excel in high volatility environments and they're trying to trade them in low vol, which may not work. So just like the humble lamington not really being suited to some environments, like a fine dining setting, so too are trading strategies. Now, if you want to get dressed up in a tuxedo and eat your lamington with the finest silverware you can find, well, that's really not going to hurt anyone. You'll look a little strange and people may point and laugh, but that's about it. However, if you try trading a strategy in an environment where it's really not well suited, that can cause a lot of pain. So you may want to consider, what are the best type of market conditions for your strategy? Where do they really perform the best? And, work to identify that and take that into consideration when you're trading. So how do you actually do that? Well, luckily for us, we have a podcast episode all about that. Episode 63 focuses on market regimes. In that episode, Alan Clement shares loads of techniques to measuring market conditions and how we can adapt our trading to suit the market environment. So you should definitely go and check that one out. That was episode 63, available on bettersystemtrader.com/63. Anyway, all of this talk of lamingtons has made me hungry, so I'm off to eat one, but I can assure you my knife and fork will be left in the cupboard. Happy Australia Day.